Morning, Lolita.
How you doing?
Good.
Yeah.
It's been very nice.
I know, this is exciting.
To come to the Horniman with you.
I know. When did you last come here?
I think a year or a year and a half, something like that.
I came with my nephew a few weeks ago.
Huh?
But before that, I hadn't been here for years because my children are older than yours.
But you used to come.
I used to come all the time.
Yeah, me too.
Because it's such an amazing place. What always amazed me about living here, because I've lived in southeast London for over 20 years, is that this is here. It's such a hidden gem, right?
It is, yeah. Especially that near the South Circular.
Yeah.
And you're inside a huge garden.
Yes.
You don't think about them.
No, because it's hidden.
Really nice.
Yeah. I heard actually that during the pandemic, obviously the museum was closed, but they kept the gardens open because so that people who didn't have gardens could come here, and it was really
enjoy
used.
this garden.
Yeah. It's such a public facility.
It's beautiful.
It's interesting looking at this front entrance because it's quite obscured by all the green on either side.
Yeah.
And then there's this sort of, well, it's obviously a huge building, but it's quite hidden by all the green.
Exactly.
The entrance.
I think it's full of surprise.
Yes.
Let's go discover.
Shall we go discover? Let's go.
Yeah,
Come on then. Hi, I'm the actor and writer Lolita Chakrabarti, and I'm with my friend, the artist Sara Shamma, here at the Horniman Museum Gardens in London. And this is Meet Me at the Museum.
You know, we're lucky. Today it's Wednesday and the museum is closed. It's very nice to visit the museum alone.
We have it to ourselves.
It's our own now.
Here we are in the reception. God, the hours I've spent here. There's with the kids, the cafe on the left that give loads and loads of fabulous snacks for kids, and then cake for the adults.
And the shop on the right.
Oh, the shop. Have you spent a fortune in the shop?
Exactly. My children love to buy anything from this shop.
Yeah, I agree.
Especially the animals and the small toys.
Yeah, absolutely. All the little bits and pieces. And did you ever go into the hands-on room just over there? Well, you go in with the kids, but they can handle some of the, exhibits.
Insects.
Exactly.
Scorpions.
Yes. Or bones, skulls and things like that, I think they did once.
Right.
Morning. Welcome to the Horniman.
Morning.
Thank you.
You've got a lovely day for your visit.
We
have. Thank you. And we've got our national art passes with us.
Okay, that's great. Well, the vast majority of the Horniman, all the galleries are free to everybody, as are the gardens. But if you've got your national art pass, you will get free admission to visiting exhibitions and also our aquarium.
Brilliant. Thank you.
So I moved here to London 5 years ago, and I came from Syria. And with my family, with my 2 children. They were 5 and 4 back then. And we started to look for a museum around us, because I want to entertain them. So we found the Horniman, and we started to go there almost every weekend. And it's a big part of their life now. They knew the Horniman for 5 years, so it's half of their life, especially because it's full of things to discover, things to touch, like animals, insects, all these things. They love it, snakes, everything. So it also contributes in educating my children in a way, this museum. And it's like our big garden. So we feel that this museum belongs to us in a way.
That's really nice. I can see the influence on the kids, actually, because when you last went to Syria, I had to come and feed your pets. Now, for me, pets are sort of fluffy. I know, but me, pets are fluffy, affectionate things. But it did take me a moment because I had to feed your. Are they African snails? They're giant snails.
Yeah.
And slugs. And tortoise and the crabs.
The crabs.
I'm so sorry the crabs didn't make it, but
just sorry to put you in this situation.
Well, I can see the direct connection to the insects and the bones and the animals here.
Exactly.
With the kids. I've been in Southeast London for 23 years.
Yeah.
And I didn't have kids when I moved here, so my kids are now 20 and 17. Yeah, as soon as I discovered this place with the children, we were here all the time, partly because it's an amazing place to be when it rains. It gives them somewhere to run. And then you discover all these kind of fascinating things, but things that you don't... With children, it's funny in a museum, isn't it? Because now I really want to read stuff. And the kids, when they were little, just couldn't be bothered with reading anything. Yeah. They just wanted to look and touch. And this fulfills both of those things, so that you can read what bird that was or what fox or animal that is, but they can just look at its eyes and it looks back at them. Shall we go down to the Natural History Gallery?
Yeah, let's go. I think, is it from the left?
I think it's down this slope and to the left, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
This room is always surprising, isn't it? Because it's
huge.
It's huge, yeah.
It's very nice.
And high
Look at the ceiling.
Yeah.
Curved ceiling.
Oh, listen to that echo.
Yeah.
I want to
sing for me, Lolita.
That's pretty good, right? When could I ever do that? Unless it was empty. I remember my kids, when they were at primary school, they used to do sleepovers in here.
Wow.
Yeah, the class
that
would come.
Be nice.
I know, with all these skeletons and creatures.
Lovely.
Wow.
Let's go straight to the center.
The center.
Wow.
You can't miss him, can you?
Oh, my God. Do you think it's real?
I don't know if it's real, although I was told that this is possibly not a fully grown walrus.
Really?
It's enormous, isn't it?
Wow.
I mean,
it's like how many?
The size
like
of
3 meters long, something like that.
How many people would that be? 8 people? And those tusks. So do you think it's real?
I don't know. Shall we touch it?
It says don't touch.
But nobody's here.
I think you're an artist. You can touch it. Is it real?
It's real?
Oh my goodness. Somebody just came up to me and said that this walrus is real.
Really?
I thought it was a constructed model. Let's read the thing. History of the walrus. It's been on display at the Horniman Museum for more than a century. It most likely came from the Hudson Bay area of eastern Canada and was first seen in London in the Canada section of the Colonial and Indian Exhibition in South Kensington in 1886.
Very special piece in a museum to see.
Yeah.
You don't realize how big they are and how huge and how fat.
Don't body shame the walrus. That's what my daughter would say. You can't body shame the walrus. It's great to come here with you today.
Yeah.
Because it's very unlikely. Our kids are very different ages. And we hang out a lot, don't we? But it's really nice to do the museum with you.
Yeah, first time.
First time. Because we literally live next door to each other.
We have the same wall.
We have the same wall, exactly. So you can hear...
I bet you can hear me shouting on the kids.
No, but I can hear piano. I can hear piano.
So you can hear me shouting then. Don't be polite, Lolita. Especially in the morning before school.
Oh, I dread to think what you can hear from our side.
Nothing. You're very polite.
Oh, good. I remember when you first moved in, and there's interest, isn't there? Who's moving in? Who's coming? And we looked through, because we're nosy. We looked through the front window, and there was these. I don't know how big are your paintings? They're enormous. They're wall-sized paintings, aren't they? They are estimating 6 foot, 8 foot.
I
canvases?
Can understand meters. They're 2 meters, 2 meters and a half.
2 meters and
like
a half,
that,
right. So one half of your house, which is our TV room, is your studio.
Yeah.
And we looked in to see, the neighbours have moved in, what are they like? And saw these paintings that are extraordinary.
Thank you.
Yeah, we were really blown away. And then you were extremely friendly.
Yeah, when we moved, we want to discover our neighborhood. We want to know everybody. We want to feel that we belong to this city by knowing everybody.
I really wanted to come in here.
Yeah.
Because they have a fantastic collection of skeletons and bones.
I love skeletons and bones.
I know, you were saying.
I love skulls. They are very inspiring. They represent the life itself. They represent life itself because you are seeing yourself from inside. Every skeleton, every skull is a different portrait. I try to imagine the expression of the face without flesh and without muscles. It's very inspiring.
your painting, what I have seen is mainly portraits, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
So when you look at a subject, are you
seeing the
skull first?
Yeah, of course.
Are you?
Yeah. I try to imagine how big is each bone in their skull. So like seeing inside the person. Let's look at these skulls. I think they are Homo sapiens.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to try the word Neanderthalensis.
Neanderthalensis.
You said it better.
So, you can tell the difference between, of course, male skull and female skull. A very obvious thing. You see this bone here on top of the eyes.
Yeah, so to the brow.
In male skull, it's more like... Prominent, while in female skull, it's more like this, flatter. So you see this...
bridge of the nose to the brow.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You see it deeper in a male skull.
So I've got two reasons that I'm interested in bones, and neither of them are to do with me. One is my dad was an orthopaedic surgeon.
Oh.
And so he had this book at home, Gray's Anatomy, which is the sort of encyclopedia for all surgeons.
Yeah.
He'd bring medical instruments home because he was doing a hip operation the next day, and he'd bring the stainless steel instruments that he would put into someone's hip the next day home.
Yeah.
And then in order to just remind himself of what he was doing, while I was watching TV, I was like 10, 11, I'd be watching TV on the floor and he'd sit next to me with his Gray's Anatomy and he would just mark on my leg where he was going to make the incisions.
Really?
Yeah.
But why?
Just to kind of
Just
remind
to practice
himself.
or to remind himself?
Yeah, just remind himself. I mean, he did loads of them, but it was just to, I don't know, sharpen the mind that tomorrow I'm doing this and you get one chance, I suppose.
Yeah.
So that's and then my eldest daughter came here and was almost going to be a paleontologist, so dinosaurs, because she loved fossils and those prehistoric bones.
Yeah.
So I feel connected to bones.
So because I love skulls, so my friends gave it to me as a birthday present. It was the best present ever.
Did your friend wrap
it?
it?
I had three of them.
Did they wrap the skull, or was it?
I don't remember.
On a plate.
I don't remember.
This is what makes us different, you see, artists, that you're thrilled at getting a skull for your birthday.
My art is mainly portraits, but figurative. And I work mainly with oil. And you can see contrast in my work. You see some hyper-realistic part of my work, and at the same time, on the same surface of the canvas, I work in an abstract way. So I play with this contrast between abstraction and super realism in a way. So I think that's how I can describe myself. It's very inspiring to work on big canvases. It has a bigger impact on me, on myself, and it's satisfying. So that's why I work in the big canvases.
Shall we go in here?
Shall we?
Wow.
Nice.
This is really nice. So we're on a balcony.
Balcony, yeah.
Of the World Gallery.
The World Gallery is underneath us.
Aha. And that noise, it sounds like rain, doesn't it?
What is it? Do you think it's air conditioned?
They said it was to preserve all the artifacts.
Look at these flags.
Oh, they're beautiful, aren't they?
I love the colors.
Yeah.
The World Gallery is interesting down there,
isn't
Lolita.
it?
They have everything you can imagine.
Oh, different sections. They've got the Asian encounters, European encounters, Oceania encounters. And at the end of the gallery here, what's this? This is Horniman's vision about Frederick Horniman, who I guess started this museum.
Yeah, I think it's his collection.
Interesting. So we get to find out how this came to be and where the money came from. And
at least he spent it in a good way.
It's true, but a lot of those people, they made their money in, I wouldn't even say questionable, they made their money off the backs of colonial...
Of course.
Of empire.
Maybe Nick can tell us a little bit about it.
Hi, Lolita. Hi, Sara. Nice to see you both again.
It's good to see you again.
Thanks for having us in your museum.
It's a pleasure.
So Nick Merriman, for everyone listening, is the chief executive, is that right, of the Horniman Museum?
Yeah.
And this bit of Horniman's vision, I'm really fascinated to know, who was he?
Yeah, we redid this gallery in 2018 and for the first time put in something about the history of the Horniman family, who gave their name to this museum, because we felt many people didn't really know who they were. They were a family of tea traders, which is really interesting. The Horniman Tea Company was founded by Frederick Horniman's father, John, in the 1820s. And their family were also Quakers, which, for those who don't know, is a sort of religious, they're called the Society of Friends. They're an international and non-hierarchical religious organisation who don't really believe in formal worship. They have friends meeting houses. But they were, in the 19th century, actively opposed to slavery, and John was a member of the Anti-Slavery Society.
They were key,
the
weren't
Howard
they?
League for Penal Reform. So kind of philanthropists.
Interesting, though, if they were in tea, were they the middlemen who bought the tea from the people who were working in India, China? Where was the...
Yeah, this was the question that came to prominence, particularly last year with the resurgence of the Black Lives Matter movement.
Yeah.
We'd kind of celebrated the Horniman family as philanthropists, but they seemed to be slightly blind or unaware to the fact that the origin of their money in the tea trade didn't actually come from plantations in India, which is what we originally thought, but they were middlemen, so they were tea merchants in London. So they didn't have plantations, they didn't travel particularly widely, except Frederick did a bit later for collecting, and their tea was from China. We see it sort of acknowledged in this panel here, entitled Tea and Empire. And we put this in last year, and what it does is that, as you can see if you read it, it says the Horniman family made huge profits from the tea trade. We go on to say that there's a lesser known history of this trade, is that the British Empire paid for its tea habit by the sale of the drug opium in China, which led to the Opium Wars.
Yeah.
And it was very controversial at the time, the opium, going to war against China, so that we, in the form of the British East India Company, could continue to illegally sell opium to the Chinese. And we thought it was very important that we acknowledged that rather darker side to the Horniman wealth.
Obviously, because I look at history through my own experiences. So I look for people like me and the people around me in the history I look at, which is British history. And so the Opium Wars are quite significant to me. They're probably lesser known because we weren't looking at it before. And as you said, with the BLM movement and the push to look at everybody's version of the same story, it's great to see that you're acknowledging that here. When I started writing, which is a long time ago, I began with a historical project which ended up being called Red Velvet, this play that I wrote. And it's about Ira Aldridge, who's the first black American actor to play Othello at Theatre Royal Covent Garden in 1833. I've watched historical drama, and there's never been a reflection up until a few years ago of people who look like me in those historical dramas. As an actress, I've only had my first historical part in television very recently, and I've been working over 30 years. So it's been late in my lifetime. But when I found out about Ira Aldridge, never heard of him, and he's not recorded anywhere. I've got to find out about this guy. He played Othello at Covent Garden. Let me find out about him. And as I did, I found out about a hugely mixed culture of people in London who weren't represented in the stories that I have watched. It fascinates me that the stories that we tell inform lives, don't they? I didn't know that I was around in another form in the 1820s. So what I love about history is that if we look at the truth of it, it gives you a much more complex idea of how we came to where we are now. And that actually, if you take what's going on now in 100 years' time, if they delve deep enough, they'll see that we were pretty complicated too.
Nick, I'm wondering which your favorite spot in this museum, as a person who come every day to this museum.
Let me take you to it now.
Yeah, please do.
Here we are.
Nice, beautiful garden, Lolita.
So the view's amazing, isn't it?
One of the things that's, I think, unique about the Horniman is that it's not just a museum, it's a museum and gardens.
Exactly.
And we've got 16 acres, and we've got a fantastic view of central London, which is one of the best views in London, in my opinion.
I can see the Shard very clearly. I can see almost London Eye.
Quite futuristic,
Wow,
isn't it? From these
beautiful
gardens to look at those high-rise buildings.
It's very nice.
Is that St Paul's?
Yeah, what I often say to people is that 30 years ago, all you'd have seen on the skyline there is St Paul's. And now it's this tiny little dot with all of these huge...
30 years ago?
Yeah, all these skyscrapers have come up in the last 30 years or so.
Really?
Yeah.
God, there's so much to do here. It's unbelievable, all the different spaces. So what else? Tell us what else.
Well, we've got live animals here, just over there, beyond our Dutch barn. Normally, this isn't allowed. We've made some special arrangements for you to feed our hungry alpacas. So if you'd like to make your way over there, I'm sure you will enjoy that experience.
Oh, that's great. Thank you very much.
Smelly experience or not smelly?
Depends on your sense of smell. Mine's terrible.
Here we go. This is where the animals are.
Wow.
This is lovely, isn't it? There's lots of pens on either side. So this is chickens on this side. This is lovely,
This is
isn't
the
it?
alpaca?
There's the alpacas. They're opposite the
but
goats.
You know that we are not supposed to feed them.
Yeah, normally they say, because it says even garden plants can cause them harm.
But since we are our guest now, so we have this privilege.
It's the privilege
to
of coming
feed
in as guests, yeah. Oh, they're sweet, aren't they? Hello. One white and one brown.
Look at his face. Look at the mouth.
That's very sweet, isn't it?
So sweet.
Can we feed them a carrot?
Wow.
We've got Ruth. Hi, Ruth.
Hello.
You're holding a box of carrots. Those aren't for you, I take it. Those are for the alpacas.
So this is for Poppy and Eva.
Poppy and Eva. And
Which one is Eva? The white
Eva
one?
is the white
Hey,
one.
Poppy, have a carrot.
Look at
Am I
Eva's
feeding?
eyes, Lolita. All black. There's no white.
Here we go, sweetie. Have a carrot.
Listen to that.
Let me get a carrot. You're going to eat the mic.
Oh my God,
Here you
listen, Lolita. Listen to the sound. Wow, another one. Yalla, go.
More interested in the mic than the carrot.
Don't eat my mic.
Thank you for having us, ladies. Very nice to meet you both.
Lolita is trying to kiss you. So Lolita, the music gallery, have you been?
I have, but a really long time
It's
ago.
one of the best places in this museum.
Come on then.
Let's go.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
They have a huge collection of instruments from all over the world.
I'd forgotten all these huge, what would you call them, enclosures?
Yeah, look
filled
at how
with
big.
hundreds of different instruments. And are they in different countries, different historical periods?
I think so, yeah. And also I've heard that a big part of the collection is in their storage. We are only seeing a small part of it. I remember here, Lolita, there are sound tables. Do you remember them?
So I'm intrigued immediately by 721, which looks like a jug.
It is a jug.
It's a jug. So amongst all these brass instruments...
721.
721. What is the jug?
721.
Dustin Family Quintet Commemorative Jug. There we go. But it belonged to a quintet.
Wow, I wish I could hear the sound of it.
Should we go check out the
I
sound
think
table?
So. Let's go to the sound table. You know why I love this gallery?
Why?
Because I love music and I used to play guitar and harmonica.
Really?
Yeah, I hope we can find an old guitar in this collection.
So we come to the table.
Wow, look at this table. It's different.
It looks like a surfboard.
Exactly.
Isn't it? But with speakers in it.
Yeah, how big? And look at the buttons.
Shall we sit? There's benches.
Let's
sit
try.
at the surfboard. And there's a sort of light projection in the middle of it.
Do you think it's a touch things?
I don't know. It's showing all the different instruments. And then there's a back and forth button, and it says, and a middle one that says listen.
Let's press on listen, see what we have.
Oh, look, and it says ducked flutes, played as a pair by one musician, and there's an explanation that comes up.
Nice.
Made in Rajasthan, that's for me.
Yeah, it is oriental in a way. Nice.
Circular breathing, it says, to play the flutes continuously. Circular breathing, so you're sort of breathing in and breathing out at the same time.
Nice.
That's
Shall we try
lovely.
something else?
Yeah, you press. There we go. Gibson Les Paul standard electric guitar. Oh, not Les Paul, Les Paul.
Eric Clapton played this kind of guitar in 1960s. I love rock music and blues music from the 60s and 70s. So for me, it's very homey to listen to this.
Because you're a huge Bob Dylan fan, right?
Yeah,
You've painted Bob Dylan.
Many times, 50 times maybe. But also I'm a fan of all these people in this era.
Are you?
Yeah, and my father used to be a fan of music, of rock music a lot. So for me, this is very homey things. Remind me immediately to Damascus, bring me back immediately to Damascus, even if it's not from Damascus.
And did you play electric guitar or acoustic?
Acoustic mainly, yeah. But I love the sound of it. I love music for the purity of it, that no matter what song you're listening to, it takes you into a feeling and an emotional, a really pure emotional state. Yeah. So obviously, as a teenager, I loved music, and there's songs of the 80s that I know really well. But they capture memory, don't they? So I hear a song from when I was growing up, and I'm there. And so in my latest play that was on at the Almeida, Hymn, I used music, and it was particularly from the 80s, and some of it was other stuff that I just really like. But I used that music because it captured a feeling of, I don't know, joy, regret, happiness, sadness, whatever it is. But through a song, you can say so much that you can't really say through words. Exactly. And you can go back in time, and you can... Yeah, you can be young again, can't you? You can imagine, I'm 16. Yeah. And you feel it, and it's the power of that song that makes you feel that thing. Music is my main inspiration in my work. I always work while listening to music. Music inspires me, moves me, makes me get high in a way. And this state of mind is the perfect state for creation. For me, because I love to dive into my subconscious mind to find the source of creation, let's say. That's how I love to work. So not like you, because you work with words. So everything for you, it has to be rational in a way. While I work the opposite way. Everything has to be unrational. So music is everything almost for me. Oh, the music's just gone off. Why do you think? I think that means that the curator Mimi's here, because she's going to tell us a bit more about the instruments. That would be interesting. Shall we go meet her? Let's try to find her. Yeah. She's down at the Harpsichord, I think. Really? Ah, here we are. Hi.
Hi. Hello.
Hi, Mimi.
Lovely
How are
to see
you?
Welcome. So I'm Mimi Waitsman, and I'm called the Senior Curator of Musical Collections and Cultures. We're standing in front of one of the largest instruments in the collection, though you passed the giant tuba when you came in, the monster tuba it's called sometimes, but this is really one of the largest instruments, and it's called a harpsichord. It looks something like a piano because it's got a keyboard, but it's different because it's got two keyboards. Two keyboards? Yeah.
Let me have a look. Wow.
We'll just
So is
lean
that
in
like
and
an
see
organ?
those.
I'm not very...
Organs often have multiple keyboards like that,
Yes.
And the
Wow,
main
nice.
difference is in the action. So a piano has, it's strung, like a harpsichord has strings, but the strings on a piano are struck by hammers, and on a harpsichord they're plucked.
How old is this instrument?
So this instrument was made in 1772 by somebody called Jacob Kirkman, who was probably the most prolific harpsichord maker in Britain. Kirkman.
Jacob Kirkman. Would he have fashioned the wood as well as done the tuning of the instrument and the strings and the feather the quills and everything.
So the arrangement of workshops in those days is really interesting to talk about. And he was probably one of those who most nearly approached mass production, though mass production was obviously came a little bit later and embedded with the Industrial Revolution. But here in his workshop, he inherited a workshop from his master because they had a master-apprentice relationship. And with that workshop, he inherited all the stock in trade, all the wood, all the unfinished instruments that only needed finishing to sell, and so on. So he did really well out of inheriting this workshop. And with the workshop, he was the foreman in the workshop when his master, who's called Herman Taubel, died. And then he went on to marry Herman Taubel's erstwhile wife in the good guild traditional way. Oh, it was good for both of them, actually, if you think about it, because the perpetuation of that business was really important as a livelihood, not just for the people who worked in the shop themselves, but also for the families. So it was actually beneficial to both of them to keep that business going.
Can we hear this harpsichord being played? Do you play, Mimi?
Yeah, I play a bit. I'm happy to demonstrate a couple of stops for you.
Please. Yeah. Yes, please.
This is an Allemande by Handel. Handel would have been very familiar with harpsichords like this.
I love that you said I play a bit, and then you're going to play some Handel.
Oh.
Well, we've been here for hours, and I don't feel like I've done everything I wanted to do.
Yeah, I agree. Me too. I think we've done only 1/10.
Yeah. It feels like a really small museum.
But it's very rich.
It's really rich.
The
That's
collection
a good word.
is very packed in a nice way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love this idea that you looked for a museum around you, because that is not something I would ever do. I always think museums are far away and you have to travel and really make a day trip.
Yeah.
And so when we moved here, I didn't imagine there'd be a museum so close, and a world-class museum like this that's so rich, but really accessible, isn't it? I don't feel intimidated by it. When I come in, it's very, come and touch this, come and look that.
Exactly.
You know, you can play with some of the instruments and
the diversity of the exhibition that they have in this museum.
And I like the fact that it doesn't tell you everything straight away. It makes you work so that you're not just sat back and taking it all.
Makes you feel engaged with the thing that is exhibited.
Thanks for listening to Meet Me at the Museum with me, Lolita Chakrabarti.
And me, Sara Shamma, at the Horniman Museum and Gardens in London.
If you like this episode of the podcast, please rate, subscribe, or tell a friend.
And don't forget, you can show your love for museums with the National Art Pass. It gives you great benefits at hundreds of venues while raising money to support them.